In this presentation, we will be talking about the Boundary Waters Canoe and Wilderness Area. So the Boundary Waters is a boreal forest that stretches from areas of northern Minnesota to areas of southern Canada. It is also part of the historic land of the Ojibwe people who built canoes made from birch bark. Other known facts are that in 1964, they made the Boundary Waters Wilderness a unit of the National Wilderness Preservation System, which means that government funds were allocated into protecting these waters. Next, we'll be talking about the fish of the Boundary Waters Canoe area. The area is home to almost 40% of Minnesota's native species that are in the entire state, including species that are of special concern, lake sturgeon and northern brook lamprey, as pictured below. Fishing is a very popular hobby in the region. This is a table of the fish that are known to be in the Boundary Waters Canoe area. As you can see, it is about all of the species of Minnesota's fish are in this lake, as well as 40% of fish populations entirely.
Next up, why does it matter and who cares about this? Firstly, fish health is important because of the ecological value. Fish regulate nutrients and serve as a larger part of the food web. Many different species of fish serve many different unique ecological niches in the freshwater ecosystem that can't really be replaced by anything else. Fish also provide many ecosystem services for the benefit of humans. Fishing is very popular in the Boundary Waters, and many people enjoy the recreational practice. Friends of the Boundary Waters estimates that 40% of Boundary Water visitors participate in fishing. If you look at the numbers of people that go to the Boundary Waters, that's about 100,000 people a year. Harvard Medical School has found that fishing also benefits people's mental health. It's found to decrease stress and can be used as a relaxation method. Sportsmen for the Boundary Waters is a group of hunters and fisher people who practice recreational fishing and advocate for the health of the Boundary Waters. They are concerned about fish populations and health with mining. They're a good example of a specific group who will be directly affected by lower fish populations. Another group who will be impacted are Indigenous peoples. They have important cultural and livelihood ties to fish population. The Anishinaabe people have been living at the Boundary Waters for hundreds of years, and part of the way that they support their population is fishing. They're also called Ojibwe, if you have heard that before. The Anishinaabe people view fish as sacred and serve as a connection to the water. The fish connects them to the larger ecosystem as a whole and acts as an important figure in their culture. They tell stories about their fish and teach the young about their importance.
Currently, there are two major problems that many groups are fighting against in the BWCA. Both of these problems have implications for the native fish that live in the waters of the BWCA. These include the possibility of a 20-year mining ban on the area, as well as invasive species. There are quite a few invasive species in the BWCA, as in a lot of other bodies of water in Minnesota. These include the spiny water flea, starry stonewort, and the rusty crayfish. Spiny water flea consume large amounts of native zooplankton, leaving less food for native species. Zooplankton are a major component of larval fish diet. Larval fish already have a high mortality rate on their own, and the spiny water flea's tail is very sharp, making it hard for any organism in the BWCA to consume it and have a natural predator. We have seen the effects of this invasive species in the 14% slower growth rate of walleye, resulting in less robust fish and a higher fish mortality rate. Starry stonewort outcompetes native plants. It grows aggressively and blocks out sunlight from reaching other aquatic plants. This affects fish by creating unsuitable shelter, less food, or nesting. The rusty crayfish is a crustacean that outcompetes native crayfish for food and habitat. It destroys and consumes fish eggs as well as aquatic plant beds. They can also interbreed with native crayfish, which dwindles native crayfish populations even further. Another problem facing the BWCA is a mining threat. Under the current administration, a 20-year mining ban located within the BWCA is under consideration of being lifted. This decision is controversial. Mining taking place would produce a lot of valuable metal and create an economic boost, but would also damage the environment and local communities who rely on the tourism of the BWCA. Environmental damage would likely ruin aspects of tourism to the area. Many outdoor sports enthusiasts frequent the Boundary Waters and contribute to businesses of nearby towns. The risk of a mining spill is also an argument against implementing a mining operation in the BWCA. A cleanup would be very expensive, disruptive, and damaging to wildlife. Friends of the Boundary Waters is an organization that has actively fought against the initiative of placing a mine in the BWCA. Their goal is to conserve and preserve the area as much as possible.
The Boundary Water Canoe Area has one of the highest populations of anglers and fishermen in the Midwest and nationally, and as such, these conversations need to be held to ensure the fish are not only healthy themselves, but healthy enough for human consumption. One of the many big topics at hand is the ongoing mining in the Boundary Waters Canoe Area, which is leading to a toxic level of mercury and PFAS in the waters. This has reportedly made fish smaller throughout the past decade due to its rising prevalence in the BWCA. One of the many chemicals that affect fish at the moment is DEET, or diethyl-3-methylbenzamide, one of the most common chemicals in bug repellent. Bug repellent, being a liquid, easily enters watersheds, and contaminated insects then get eaten by fish. Fish affected by DEET at toxic levels experience organ failure and, quote, organ abnormalities throughout their life cycle. Fish disease, unlike fish pollution, is a much less studied field, and as such, has less information. Despite this, it is known that Heterosporus, a fungal parasite, is spreading around water all over northern Minnesota. Heterosporus has no cure, no failsafe, and leaches off of fish until they die prematurely. Anglers note that fish with this disease have gummier, generally less appetizing meat. This is because the leading symptom of Heterosporus is its inherent ability to liquefy a fish's muscle tissue. Researchers at the University of Minnesota, like Paul Venturelli, actively work with the Minnesota DNR to monitor the spread of this disease.
These issues can be detrimental to the health of this important ecosystem and border an ecological collapse if nothing is done to help. As mentioned earlier, the BWCA mining ban is in consideration being lifted, and this is just a piece of a large metaphorical dam holding back an incredible amount of possible further damage. One of the biggest concerns is water quality degradation and forest decline, which consists of tree die-offs, high wildfire risk, contamination, algae blooms, and a loss of safe drinking water. This is especially dire to the locals and animals whose livelihood rely on this water source. Another concern would be loss of fish populations, which would mean no fishing for the people who rely on it, and even a decrease in predator species such as otters, loons, and even eagle populations, because they would lose a large portion of their diet. With all this damage, it would then take a toll on the recreational economy. If the waters are not safe to spend time in, and the forest root of trees, there will be a loss of funds from people not wanting to visit, therefore negatively impacting the local communities and economy. Lastly, we cannot forget the cultural loss that would happen. The BWCA is a very important place, both spiritually and through practice, for many Ojibwe and Anishinaabe nations, and that would be detrimental to their culture for the loss of that. If these issues are ignored, we will lose an important critical habitat, recreational area, and overall an area of great beauty in Minnesota, this place in which countless species, as well as native tribes, call home.
Okay, so what solutions can be done? What can we implement into the community? So the first thing that we can implement is sustainable fishing practices. So this looks like using selective gear that is important to declining the amount of bycatch that is caught, or using fish devices that help reduce the amount of juvenile fish being caught and focus more on catching the adult fish. We're using circle hooks, and those are more important to catching the fish that you want rather than the fish that is not wanted. And that can be used with fishing companies as well as just the community fishing. And then we can promote community involvement. So this looks like educating the community about the situation and making the community more aware. And then when they're more aware, they'll adhere to regulations and rules easier, as well as want to get involved and help with like community cleanups. And then enhancing monitoring systems. So this looks like enhancing fish monitoring or water monitoring. Implementing more technology into science helps increase the speed of results that scientists can analyze. So when more technology is used, scientists will get clear data faster. And then with water monitoring, data will be collected faster, as well as problems detected, so there can be a change. And then the last thing that can be done is implementing regulations. So this looks like laws or rules that are made. So implementing regulations is a proven method in decreasing the amount of overfishing happening within ecosystems, and then implementing regulations on pollution control will help keep down the amount of pollution being spread in the waters, as well as with implementing regulations for overfishing and pollution. Adding regulations towards increasing the habitat for these fish is a good step towards habitat loss, so we can increase their habitat if we implement more regulations on pollution and the amount of fish we're catching and just different things like that.